How about now? Is audio coming through now? Because it's recording on this end, so I have it for the podcast version, but apparently it wasn't going through. It's a good thing I tested all this before, which is not me joking. I actually did, so I don't know why. I set this all up in the middle of the week, so I don't know. Okay, he says the audio is coming through. So for those of you watching, sorry about that. Apparently the first 2 minutes or so, you didn't hear anything we said.
Are you going to repeat all those bad things you said about your dad?
I know. I just ripped him apart. No, we're just saying, hey, we're back.
Because I was sticking up for him. Just so,
right? Yeah. Well, everyone knows that you always stick up for my dad.
100%.
You said so many nice things about the Cowboys those first 2 minutes, and now I don't think we could repeat them. That was a once and done.
You missed it.
No. So here we are, episode 385 of the Joe Mays J-Raff Show. Justin and I have been gone from this show for the better part of 4 months, and we were saying last time this show was on, actually, Justin wasn't here. He was unable to make it, but we had a guest on who is now a collegiate basketball player at Arcadia, Aiden Melagrana. It was fun to talk to him, and we wish him the best of luck in his college basketball season. But we're here to talk about NFL. We've got a lot to catch up on. We missed the first 10 weeks. We're in week 11 right here now. We didn't get to catch up on anything so far because we did 16 episodes of the Bulldog Hour focused on the Wilson football team here in West Lawn, Pennsylvania.
So only like 160 games to recap.
Right, yeah. So we better get started. We got to better dive in. We got to... I know it's not the end of the season. It's kind of only like...
No, but we're reaching the point where it's...
past the halfway point.
Yeah.
So... Yeah. I feel like some of our predictions...
And I feel like essentially just past the halfway mark.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the All-Star break in baseball, in terms of slightly over halfway.
Right.
It's go time now. Now, baseball's a little different in that a little over halfway still means they have like 75 games left. But, we're hitting that point. And Thanksgiving, man, it's go time for NFL football now because you hit this and then you've got your you got your busy football NFL schedule this week, and then next thing you know, this coming weekend's games will be the last games in November, and then it's going to be December, and the clock is ticking.
Yeah, well, and we're in the best part of probably the NFL schedule because we're deep into the season. We're not trying to figure out what's happening with the teams. We know by and large who the contenders are. And then there's multiple different brackets or phases of the contenders. Then there's might make the playoffs.
Right.
And we know who's also
right. There's
terrible.
Somewhere the next 4 weeks or so will determine whether they're going to be in contention at the end or not, so.
But we've got a lot to cover because we've been gone for so long, but we're making our way towards Super Bowl 58, which is in Las Vegas this year. I think we need to revisit, not necessarily go like, did we hit or not on our predictions, because obviously there's each team has about 6, 7, 8 games left or so. There's plenty of things that can happen, but there are definitely some teams that are probably not performing to where we expected them to be, good or bad.
Right, I agree.
So maybe we should just run through division by division.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. And do we want to do it in the same order, or do we want to just go right with the teams? I say we go start out west and do the same order.
Like we normally do.
That way we're coming to the teams that we care the most about towards the end, and we can just stick there. So
all right, so let's start out with the NFC West.
Yep.
So we're talking Seahawks, 49ers, Rams, and Cardinals. Honestly, I feel like they're all pretty much where we thought they would be. I know the Seahawks collapsed today to the Rams. The 49ers are back in first there, which I think we kind of assumed.
Yeah.
Maybe the 49ers are a tad, I want to say worse, but they had that 3-game skid recently. Now they're on a 2-game winning streak. They got right, but they looked like world beaters. They looked like the best team in the NFL for the first
they
4
looked
or 5
like the
weeks
best
of the
team
season.
in the NFL, and then they looked like
what's going on?
We overshot this a little bit, and then they had their bye, and they've looked good. Not last week; they looked pretty darn good.
Well, they smoked Tampa Bay today, didn't they? Or did the Tampa Bay come back?
they
'Cause
won
Purdy
by
had a perfect passing
they
rating
won by
today.
2 touchdowns, but
Okay.
like Tampa had with 6 minutes left, Tampa had the ball at the 10 trying to score to
Okay.
make it a 1-score game. They won comfortably. They won by 2 scores. But yes. But like it was one of those where I don't know. It was 13-7 at half. They got 2 quick scores in the third, and then like that
I was watching
kind of
Red Zone and bouncing back and forth,
Yeah.
so I didn't see everything up to date. But
Yeah, so they've played well, not as dominant as they did those first 5 or 6 weeks though. They looked really good those weeks.
right, were they 5-0? Then they lost 3 in a row.
I think so,
Then they went on a
yes.
bye, and now they won 2 in a row or something like that.
Yes.
So they're in first, kind of as expected. Seahawks are in second, I think, also expected.
I'd say bad loss for them. It's tough because Gino was hurt in the second half, let him down.
He let him down. Yeah,
That's a long field goal.
yeah,
55-yarder.
55. Okay,
But like it wasn't a good attempt.
it wasn't.
Like,
Yeah, you could.
If
tell
you miss
from the
that, if you
start.
miss a 55-yarder, like that's one thing. But like I didn't think it was going to make it there, and it looked more like a kickoff kind of thing. So not a great attempt, but they're probably about where we thought they were. They blew that. I said they blew an opportunity in that game.
Yeah, that could go back to haunt them if it comes down to a game at the end of the season or a tiebreaker with the 49ers or something. But
Right.
I would say 49ers, Seahawks are kind of what we expected.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know that the Rams or Cardinals are any different than what we expected
No.
either.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4 out there feels exactly what we thought. Because we said we thought the Rams would be bad, not terrible. They could be a smidge better than I expected them to be.
Yeah.
Now that they beat Seattle twice this year, I saw Sean McVay. I think is like 10-5 against the Seahawks in his coaching career. And the Cardinals have shown life at times. They won. They beat the Cowboys when Josh Dobbs was still down there with them. They've also looked really bad at times. Kyler Murray had it's his second game back. He looked pretty decent. This game. But I still don't think they're that good.
No.
So NFC West, I feel like, has been the status quo or
I
has
agree.
met our expectations
I
overall,
agree.
top to bottom.
Yep.
AFC West, I feel like most are who we thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
We still have the Chiefs up top. I believe we both had the Chiefs winning the division. I don't think any of us fell into that trap like we did last year.
No.
But then the Raiders are also not great. I mean, they rebounded with Antonio Pierce.
I have a
first 2
hard
weeks.
time of figuring out where I kind of had them at the beginning of the season. I'm guessing I had them pretty bad because I'm not a big Jimmy Garoppolo believer.
I think we had them last.
Yeah.
And that's where they are.
I feel like up until 3 weeks
tied for
3
last.
weeks ago, I feel like they were worse than I expected. Even if I
they
picked them
fired
to be like,
McDaniels.
and I'd say they're with Antonio Pierce. I feel like they have been the last couple weeks where I kind of thought they would be. They won a couple games and were competitive today, which is what I thought they would be. I thought they'd be bad, but not like historically bad or like number 1 draft pick bad.
Yeah.
And like I think this is a separate note. Man, that Josh McDaniels thing, like I don't say this often because it's the NFL and this is the way it works in football coaching circles, but I'd be stunned if Josh McDaniels got another head coaching job. And that's a crazy thing to say because he's so young. But like his two head coaching stints have gone
awful.
so bad. So bad. They were running down on the other day trying to find somebody that had 2 head coaching stints where it went worse than what he had. And you can come up with some where it's record-wise where it was worse. But I sent you like the videos and like I don't mean this
are we
like
talking Rich Kotite?
Actually, and here's the thing. Rich Kotite,
No, he won some games.
he won games. Right. Like he gets a bad rap. He wasn't a great
looks
coach.
like an accountant.
He
doesn't
yes.
look like a
they pulled him out of accounting
Right, so
and like
he was just went
hey,
into
we
the
need you to
business
we
office.
need you to sign these paychecks today and then we
And
need
then
you
you
to go
coach
down
that
here
game.
and come up with the game plan. But yeah, that was the one that came up, and they were running through his record, and it's like he's not as bad as you think. It's not like he was this great coach, but he's not as bad as you think. And they were just running through some, and man, Josh McDaniels. But just the way that locker room was after they got rid of him. Well, and the stories about how he handled all that, how Antonio Pierce basically allows them to save face in this meeting, and like it seems like, okay, maybe we've turned a corner here. And then McDaniels basically rips him for what he said, because he's like, don't you ever talk about the Patriots like that. And they were like, that was it. That was the end of it then. Like, they were like, oh, there's no saving this.
Yeah.
Like, how?
Just weird.
Man, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's been all kind of talk about the Bill Belichick coaching tree, how it's kind of a dumpster fire.
Yes.
Who's the most successful
Bill O'Brien.
Former coach.
Bill O'Brien.
Probably, but that also ended very poorly. Now, that kind of went into more front office management with Bill O'Brien.
Coincidentally, was also guys from, New England.
Right, yeah. But, yeah, everyone else that has kind of gone out ended poorly. Or after they left, even if they got 2-3, ish years with their team, after they left, stuff came out that you were like, ooh.
Right. Yes.
That wasn't great. How do they keep getting away with this? But we're also seeing, I mean, that dynasty is over. If it wasn't gone when Brady left, it is 100% over now, which I'm sure we're all so torn up about. But, I honestly, one of my lasting thoughts from the last time you and I did this show together over 4 months ago, when we talked about the AFC and NFC East, right?
Yeah.
My uncle was, I thought he was going to have a heart attack while we were broadcasting when my dad was on that show with us and said he had the Patriots going, what was it, 5-12?
Yeah.
They're 2-8 right now.
Right.
And are they going to get to 5 wins?
I don't know.
I should pull up the schedule and take a look, because it's not been great.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to get Caleb Williams and Jim Harbaugh.
I don't know. Lincoln Riley might be following him out the door with the way that's collapsing out there. So, I don't want to jump to the East yet, because we got to finish the West. But
okay, but Raiders are what we thought they were. They're bad, but I'm happy for Antonio Pierce that they at least are competitive under him.
Sure, and I know you're a huge Giants linebacker fan. So
well, no, just I'm not a big Josh McDaniels fan, and so for a guy to come in like that and just you can see oh man, maybe he's getting his shot here. But
so yeah, Raiders are last, not great, better than they were a few weeks ago, but still, they hung with my Dolphins today. Give them credit for that, especially with Aiden O'Connell, a rookie at quarterback.
But they had won the last 2, right?
They had won the last 2.
Right.
Dolphins offense was not in sync at all. Tua was fine. He threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a pick and a fumble, but the offense wasn't clicking. Tyreek Hill went out at one point injured. Rookie running back A-Chain came back and then was out immediately, and they said it was more precautionary because he took a helmet or a knee-on-knee contact, and they didn't want to risk it, which sucks for fantasy. Really bad timing for that. But Raiders are 4th, Chiefs are 1st, and in between, we kind of went back and forth. Is it Chargers, Broncos? Who's the second-best team out there? At this moment, it's got to be Denver, right? I mean, absolutely. I know their game is going on right now.
But just think about thinking about those teams over the last month. Denver's up 3-0 right now.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. So
think about where those teams are over the last month. Denver is trending in a positive direction. Maybe not where you would expect them to be with a high-profile quarterback and a high-profile coach, but trending in that direction of okay, competitive. They're 4-5, but watching the Chargers, who in the right mind would have the Chargers in a better spot right now than the Broncos? You could argue that they're in the same spot. I can't really argue against that, but who's going to say that they're in a better spot? Ugh, I absolutely would not agree with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
The Chargers, I'll be surprised if Staley finishes the year.
I honestly I'm surprised that he wasn't fired yet. With the way they're performing this year,
right?
People thought that they could compete in the AFC West, make the playoffs. I mean, they were ousted into
so
terrible fashion last year.
Is it weird that maybe, like, that I even consider, like, is the owner just too cheap to fire him?
Could be.
Because that's the talk. The talk is that, like,
do you know
that
how many
they were
years
too.
Staley has left?
I don't know.
But
they said he was too cheap. Like, they said a lot of people speculate and believe that that's where Sean Payton wanted to go, and they just weren't willing to pay, 1, to get rid of Staley, and 2, to bring him in. Now, that doesn't necessarily, like, you don't have to do that. Like, if you're an owner who's not like, hey, I want to go and get an $8 million a year coach or whatever, like, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that alone is a bad decision. But, oh man, Staley, it's more than just like the individual questionable like decisions now. You know, like it's the team overall is performing poorly.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, are you wasting, like, I'm not saying Justin Herbert's like the best. He's very good. Are you wasting, you have wasted his rookie contract time.
Yeah.
Are you wasting
got to
his,
win before
like,
that contract, and it's too late now.
Right,
He already
right,
has a new contract.
right.
But yeah, I mean, he had the best of these big 2020 quarterbacks, which that class has a chance to be phenomenal. Having maybe a little bit of a rough year this year, or it's not as great as it was last year. But Herbert was the best of that group as a rookie. And I don't think we've seen it as much now in the last 3 years. No. And it's not for lack of
completely
talent.
different, though. Completely different if he wins that playoff game last year.
Yeah, it would be. And
not just losing it, but the way they lost it. The way they lost it is unbelievable.
So Denver, who started the year terrible. I mean, Dolphins dropped 70 on them. What was that, week 3, I think? They have completely turned it around. So they're sitting at 4-5, but they've won 3 in a row. Right. They're up 3-0 at the end of the first quarter against the Vikings right now, who are also hot. They've won, is it 5 in a row? They won 5 in a row?
I think
4
possibly.
or 5 in a row. They're sitting at 6.
Yeah, they were 4. They won 1 game with Justin Jefferson, and I'm not sure they've lost without him.
And then Kirk Cousins went down, and Josh Dobbs was acquired via trade, came in, led a furious comeback 2 games ago.
Right.
Last week, got the win. Now this week, trying to beat the Broncos to go to 7-4 and try to keep pace with the Detroit Lions, who another team that everyone seems to be right on.
Who they were talking about? They play twice in the last 3 weeks. Like the Eagles,
Vikings, Lions
like the Eagles and Giants do, week 16 and 18.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So, but where do we sit with the Chargers and Broncos? Chargers underachieving.
I'm not sure either of them make the playoffs, but if you had to give me one that I think has a shot to be in contention a month from now, like if we're talking at the end of December, I think the Broncos have a chance to be sneaking in there as the 7th team in the AFC, whereas I think the Chargers are going to be a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I think the wheels are going to fall. Well, you had the whole Eckler stuff over the last year with the contract situation. You have Mike Williams tear his ACL. He's out for the year.
Again.
The defense just isn't that good, even with having guys like Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa,
Keenan Allen. Now, I know
James.
It was the sun. It was a bad angle, bad glare and stuff. He had a ball hit him through his hands, hit him in the numbers at the goal line today, and he dropped it. And, like, it was one of those just, like, terrible circumstances. You could tell on the replay that the sun was, like, directly in his eyes, but, like, Keenan Allen doesn't drop that ever.
It's just like us on the grass field at Wilson today playing touch football. Man, that sun was brutal. So I feel you, Keenan. I feel you. Now, if I could just have the contract you have to to play football. So I feel like there were different paths to get there, but the AFC West is kind of where we thought the Chiefs were better than everyone, although Denver did just beat them.
Right.
The Broncos are better than they were this year than they were last year. The Chargers are probably worse than they were last year, and the Raiders are the Raiders. So, okay. Right. So the West, overall.
I'd give us a B plus for that.
I think we're right. I think we probably are B plus to an A minus in the NFC. Probably about a B for the AFC, B plus in the AFC West. Now let's go to the South.
Okay.
NFC South. Kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Except for the Panthers, who are terrible.
They're awful.
They're lucky they got a win on a late field goal against the Texans a couple weeks ago, or they could possibly
and
be going winless.
They don't get their first round pick.
And they don't have their first round pick. They traded to Chicago. So things are not going good for Frank Reich in Carolina. And I know David Tepper, everyone talks about how he has no patience. I don't think you can get rid of Frank Reich after a year down there because there's just not a lot of talent there.
Right. Who are you going to bring in? And you don't have a first round pick. So it's not like they can just, stick with it.
So Carolina, did we have Carolina finishing last?
I feel like we did.
Man,
but I don't know. Maybe Tampa. I might have had Tampa finishing last because they're just so bad.
Well, at the beginning of the year, Tampa actually didn't look too bad. Now they've hit a skid here of late.
I feel like I might have picked Tampa to finish last just because they were so bad, and I kind of figured Frank Reich and Bryce Young would get something going.
Yeah, they have not, unfortunately. Tampa Bay in there at the third spot. Started strong, have faded here of late. We didn't think they were going to be great. So they probably honestly are right where ish in the area where they have 3 or 4 wins, I think. Now it's which team can come out of this division. It's probably going to be New Orleans.
I think I picked Atlanta, but yes, I think it's probably going to be New Orleans.
So I picked New Orleans. I bought into Derek Carr. I know you were contentious about that, not believing that Carr could get it done after what he had in Vegas. Is it any different in New Orleans? And honestly, it's not going fantastic, but they're doing enough to possibly win that division.
Yeah.
But like we said, there's 7-ish games or so left. There's a lot of football you play.
Oh, yeah.
One of these teams gets hot. Probably anyone but the Panthers can still win that division.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because New Orleans is 2 games up on 2 or 3 games
so.
up on Tampa Bay,
I think so.
And a game up on Atlanta or something like that.
Yeah,
so
anything can happen there.
I feel like that we get like a B- there, maybe a C+, just because we may have had Tampa in last, and Carolina is clearly the worst team in that division. But we're right there with Tampa, New Orleans, back and forth, and could still happen. So jury's still out on that one. AFC South, it's Jacksonville. They're the best team right now.
Yeah.
The worst team is not Houston.
No, which I think I thought it would
be. I think we went back and forth on Houston or Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I know I was down on Tennessee.
I was down on Tennessee as well. I don't think
you had them as a wild card team.
I may have.
Let me see if I can pull this up. Let me see if I still have it in the email, if it's easily accessible.
But I know I thought they would fall off to some degree because I've kind of been riding the Derrick Henry's going to fall off at some point. Like you were riding the Saints are going to fall off at some point for a few years.
Took forever.
But it's just one of those where I feel like Tennessee.
Oh, you know what? I think. Here we go.
Tennessee probably is the worst team in the division.
I have a printout here, courtesy of my uncle. So this is for 2023. So just to revisit, NFC West, I had Niners, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. You had Niners, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. Uncle Rich had Rams, Niners, Seahawks, Cardinals. My dad had Niners, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. So the three of us are pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I wouldn't say the Rams are out of it, but I feel like that's doubtful.
Right.
AFC West, we almost all, actually it was again my uncle that was off. The three of us, me, you, and my dad, Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders. So nailed it as of right now.
Yeah.
My uncle had Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. That's not looking great right now.
No.
Not looking great for him. NFC South, I had Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Bucks. So, yeah, I did. I whiffed on Panthers, Bucks. Need to be flip-flopped. You had Falcons, Panthers, Saints, Bucks. My uncle had Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Bucks. Ooh, my dad had the Panthers winning. That's rough. Rough look, Dad. Rough look. Panthers, Saints, Falcons, Bucks was his pick there. So that's the one that we struggled the most with so far.
Well, because we knew they were all going to be bad anyway.
Right.
Which of these is going to be least bad of the bad football teams?
Yeah, I guess.
I think if we rated the teams individually, I think we probably still would have been okay because nobody would have had any good teams in the division.
Right. But me and Rich lead the way with that because we both have the Saints in that one. You had the Saints in third. So
there's time. There's time.
Panthers
are not climbing up the second though.
No, I don't think they are. So in the AFC South that we're talking about now, we all took the Jaguars to win that division.
Yeah.
I had Colts, Texans, Titans. So I did have Tennessee last.
Wow. Okay.
I thought I had them dropping off pretty far. You had them. So you did have them second, but not in the playoffs.
Okay,
So you had Jaguars, Titans, Texans, Colts.
Okay.
So we both thought Houston would be better this year.
Yeah.
Not as good as they are.
They
look much better.
Yeah.
My uncle had Jaguars. He had the Titans in the playoffs. He had Jaguars, Titans, Colts, Texans. So did my dad. Jaguars, Titans, Colts, Texans. So you and I a little bit better in the AFC South because we have the Texans not in last. Essentially, what helps.
And
us out.
the Titans not in the playoffs.
And we didn't have the Titans in the playoffs. My dad doesn't either, but my uncle does. And I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But Texans are probably Are they the team that's most surprising so far, do you think? With how good they are?
Just trying to think.
Because what are they, 6-4?
In terms of a pleasant surprise, probably. In terms of a team that's better than I thought they would be, they have to be the team.
They have to be in the conversation, if not number one.
Yeah. Because
and good for them. Like, I good rookie quarterbacks is good for the league. I don't like that it's a Ohio State guy. That kind of sucks. Honestly, I would rather it be Bryce Young.
But I do like.
But Alabama's not that much better.
I do like that the story is at least, hey, finally an Ohio State quarterback that isn't bad.
But I mean, he's lighting it up. He's looking really good. So not too bad in the AFC South. I guess I kind of feel like the Jaguars were a layup for everyone.
They should be.
It's too bad none of us had the Texans in second. And you know what? And maybe they'll go like 2-6 the rest of the season or something, and it won't matter.
It's possible
because the up and down play of a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach, but both have looked really good.
Yeah,
really good so far. All right, so let's do the North now. We'll flip over to the NFC. I had Lions, Vikings, Packers, Bears. That's pretty good.
You nailed
That's pretty good. You had Lions, Vikings, Bears, Packers.
Okay.
So you flip-flop Chicago and Green Bay. My uncle had Vikings, Lions, Bears, Packers. That'll be interesting if Minnesota can hang with Josh Dobbs and make that a division. Like you said, they play 2 of the final 3 games. That'll be interesting to see if that happens. And my dad had Lions, Vikings, Packers, Bears. So my dad's got it right too. And my dad might have a leg up because he has the Vikings in the playoffs, and I do not. So that could be a good one. Overall... not too bad. I honestly, I thought maybe Uncle Rich going with the Vikings again was a bit, and the way the season started didn't look good for him.
Right.
Didn't look good for him, but they turned things around. They're starting to look better. Josh Dobbs is doing crazy things. We'll see if they can continue that. Justin Jefferson coming back. It's one of those things. Could that be subtraction by addition? Is there something off? Do they rely too much on him? There's never been ever a report that he's like kind of like cancerous like Antonio Brown was. So it's not like that aspect, like the chemistry aspect off the field, but could it affect the chemistry on the field? It's one of those weird things that sometimes you get a star player back and you play worse. It's hard to define sometimes. That's why teams that win the offseason don't always win in the regular season. So we'll see what happens there with the Vikings and Lions. Overall, pretty good though. Both Bears and Packers not having great years. Bears, again, very bad, just not Panthers bad. They both played each other recently, and Chicago barely came out on top.
But it still comes out as the actual winner, too, because they have their pick.
Yeah,
right, they have
first-round picks there.
They have the Panthers pick.
So, all right, AFC North now. This one is going to look pretty bad, I think.
Yeah.
So the season started really bad for Cincinnati, got better, and everyone thought they were back, and now Joe Burrow's out for the year.
It's worse, right.
So it's much, much worse right now.
And even when he played, they were 0-3 in the division.
Yeah.
They haven't won a division game.
Now, I may have whiffed on the Vikings in the NFC North, but in the AFC North, I have 3 playoff teams coming from the AFC North.
And you might nail it.
And well, honestly, but my division champ might be the one that misses out, and I didn't pick the Browns. but I have Ravens and Steelers in the playoffs. Cincinnati was my division champ.
Okay.
I don't think that's happening. It
No.
would be an amazing feat if it would happen.
No.
They are probably destined to finish fourth now in that division. That's what it feels like right now.
Even if they can squeak out some wins, even if they can squeak
They're
out some wins,
5-5, right? They 5-5.
I think they're 5-5 and 0-3 in the division. They have to win all of their division games left just to get to 500 in the division.
Which is only used as a tiebreaker. It doesn't matter because overall record is used for everything.
Right, but like, yeah, and look at the defenses in that division, and like, those defenses are a tall task when you have Joe Burrow or any other good quarterback back there. They're tough.
Yeah.
You're gonna put someone else back there.
Yeah,
Did you see that thing? Yeah, I sent it to you. How in like 3 fewer games he's been sacked like 33 more times than Andrew Luck was through his first 4 seasons or whatever.
So how did Austin react when you told him the other day?
He was not happy. He was a little upset.
So Austin is Austin 9?
He is 9, yeah.
I'm doing some. So he's about the age, actually a tad younger than the year that Dan Marino tore his Achilles and missed like most, if not all. I think he might have missed the whole season. I can't remember if that happened in the preseason. I think it might have happened preseason. But again, this was 30 years ago, so medical treatment not.
Well, he's no Aaron Rodgers. We know that.
I knew you were gonna say that. But I think it was an Achilles. I could be wrong on that. It was a leg injury.
Right.
He missed most, if not the entire season. It sucked. That was the year that I went to watch. Of course, I was supposed to see him play in Philly, Dolphins Eagles at the Vet. Still went to that game. Got to see Scott Mitchell at quarterback get hurt, and some guy by the name of Doug Peterson come in and lead the Dolphins to victory over the Eagles to give Don Shula his record-setting victory.
That's cool.
That was the game I was at.
That's cool.
So I didn't get to see Marino do it, but I did get to see Scott Mitchell and Doug Peterson play quarterback. But Don Shula, every time that they showed that picture, and when he died a few years ago, they showed that picture. And I was like, I was at that game.
That's cool.
I was at that game. And we cannot let Bill Belichick break that record. That's where we're at right now. So I need the Patriots to move on and not trade him to Washington.
Right.
Yeah, Washington. Oh boy, we'll get to them shortly. But okay, so yeah, AFC North. I said Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, but I had Bengals, Ravens, Steelers all making the playoffs. Man, I mean, no one. I don't think anyone expected the Bengals to struggle early, and then obviously Burrow's injury. That
right.
No one's going to predict. You don't go through predicting quarterback injuries. Otherwise, that's not too bad. I think from me, Browns, if they can.
That being said, he will have now missed the majority of 2 of his 4 seasons.
Yeah, it's rough. Do you think the Browns make the playoffs with whatever quarterbacks they're throwing out there?
What's their record now? Where are the Browns at?
6-4.
I think they might only have 3 losses.
Really? I should pull up the standings.
I'm not 100% sure. I think the Browns might make the playoffs.
They're not winning the division, though, are they?
I think the Ravens win the division.
Well, I do now for sure. Yes. You're right. The Browns are 7-3.
Yeah, I think they make the playoffs.
They've won 3 in a row. They're 5-1 at home. That means they got a lot of away games.
What's their schedule look like, though? I know we're diving into it.
So they go to Denver this coming week. That's winnable. They then go to L.A. the next week for the Rams. Winnable, but back-to-back road games.
Well, so let's look at it. If we're talking about, they're 7-3, so that they've got 7 games remaining.
Yes.
If they go 4-3, I absolutely think they make the playoffs.
At 11-7.
If they go 3-4, they might make the playoffs.
Right. So at Broncos winnable, at Rams winnable, host Jaguars winnable because it's at home,
and because of their defense. Like
then they host Chicago.
They have to win that one.
Go to Houston, which could be 4 seeding in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They have a very easy schedule.
Right.
The rest
Now,
of the way.
Will
What is their toughest
Will
game?
Rodgers be back with the Jets by then?
Is Jaguars at Browns? Is Jaguars the toughest game they have left? Denver, LA Rams, Jacksonville, Chicago, Houston, New York Jets, and
Right.
Cincinnati without Burrow.
Yeah, I think
They should easily go 4-3.
Yeah.
I mean, that is with second or third rate quarterbacks, or just young and inexperienced.
Yes, but let's look. They play.
So they beat Baltimore and Pittsburgh now. Huge wins. Huge
Right.
wins for them.
Yeah, I think they make the playoffs.
They also have a win against San Francisco. Now they did lose to Pittsburgh and Baltimore earlier this year,
Right.
but they beat the Bengals once already, so
Right.
they can go 4-2 in the division with a win over Cincinnati in the last game of the year. That is a very manageable schedule for them.
Yeah, they don't have to play the Ravens again.
So at 7-3, if they can manage to go 4-3, that's 11-6.
Right, they don't have to play the Ravens or Steelers. They only have one division game left.
Yeah, it's the last game of the season.
Right,
And
against the Bengals.
honestly, they could realistically go 6-1.
And then they might win the division.
Then they might win the division, right?
I think 6-1 with
Because of the inexperience at
right.
quarterback
is going to be tough.
and the lack of
and they're the
marquee
Browns.
options.
We have to factor in that
Right.
they are the Browns.
So they have that winnable schedule. They'll go 2-5.
or they go 6-1 and lose their first playoff game.
right,
Like,
right. All right. So you, Justin, had the same finishing order as me: Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, and just the Bengals, Ravens making the playoffs. My uncle Rich flip-flopped Ravens, Bengals. He has Baltimore winning the division, so
he's
he has
on there.
Yep, he's got that. And he actually had the Steelers last behind Cleveland. He has Cleveland in third. My dad went same order as us: Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, and he had Bengals, Ravens making the playoffs.
Steelers are. That's an interesting thing there. Like, I know they don't have to decide yet, but is Kenny Pickett your dude? Like,
You'd
what?
like to see
so
more,
what do
wouldn't you?
what do we
You'd like
talk
to see
about
more.
like with like second year quarterbacks? Is we know they won't always have the flash that you had the first year sometimes, but you want to leave each year when you have a young quarterback, not even just second year, but young quarterback. So on those rookie contracts, I want to leave each year with fewer questions than I started the year with
Right.
when it comes to my quarterback. Now, there's still time, but as of right now, I don't think the Steelers can say they have fewer questions about Kenny Pickett than they did at the beginning of the season. And that puts you in a tough spot. So,
I do want to before we move on to the East, I want to step back to the AFC West because, while Coach O'Neill I think is fine because we talked, at least
right.
tepid about the Broncos.
Right,
It wasn't
right.
terrible like last year. We were way off on the current standings because the Raiders are
yeah.
actually in second at
Oh, yeah?
5-6.
Wow.
Chargers are dead last at 4-6. I don't know. I should have pulled these up earlier. Chiefs are in first, I think, relatively comfortably. They've got, with Denver playing right now, a 2.5 game lead over Denver. They've got with them playing tomorrow night, it's a little wonky as well. But their winning percentage is much higher than all the teams behind them. But Chargers are in last place at 4-6, losing 2 in a row.
Yeah, that's a bad look.
It's not great. But they're the Raiders. They're in second place, 5-6. So apologies to Las Vegas Raider faithful out there. We said that they were in fourth place, and they are not in fourth place. They are technically in second place right now, although I believe if Denver wins tonight, Denver would bump up
Yeah.
by winning percentage.
Yes, they would. They'd be
500.
500.
So, I still feel on paper the Raiders are the least talented team of that group. Doesn't always mean that's the way it plays out
Right.
on the
No,
field,
I agree.
but
I agree.
I just wanted to say that before we get I get angry tweets after someone watches this and accuses us of being Raider haters, which I am. I hate the Raiders, but just completely missed that. Was pulling a win away from them when they really had 5. So, all right, NFC East. NFC East. So, I had Ooh, this one's a bad look for me. This one's a bad look. Eagles winning. Dallas wild card in second. Commanders in third, but as a wild card team. They can't lose those 2 games to the Giants, man. And then Giants in last. I remember having the discussion how I definitely thought the Giants were going to be the worst team in the NFC East. The Commanders were going to be a little bit better, slightly above 500, sneaking into the playoffs. It could still happen, but you can't lose to the Giants twice.
Dude, that was a terrible loss for them today because at least once early in the year, I'll give you a Daniel Jones. They're playing Tommy DeVito at quarterback, who hasn't done anything.
Awful in his first 3 games.
It looked fine today. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a rough look.
I feel like, honestly, the 2 games that Washington has looked the best have been against the Eagles when they lost both those games.
So they're 0-4. Oh, did Dallas and Washington play yet?
I think they might have played once.
Well, they play on Thanksgiving.
Well, then maybe they haven't because it would be weird for them to. No, they couldn't have because there's no way Washington only has 1 division game left, right?
They play Thursday, November 20th. Oh, and so they have not played Dallas yet.
Right. Like they wouldn't finish their division play on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So Dallas and Washington play on Thanksgiving. And
hey, well, you know what? I hope they can rebound and get one on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, they're 0-4.
Let's climb back in this thing.
You're right, though.
Come on, Riverboat Ron.
Washington looked good against the Eagles both games.
Yeah.
Was it the first one that went to overtime?
Yes.
Yeah, October 1st. And then a month later, 4 weeks later, end of October, it was a touchdown game. Sam Howell looked really good.
Yeah.
By and large. But they just have a thing. They lost 14-7 to the Giants, and now today they lose 31-19.
Giants, who have a terrible defense.
Right. They're just not good overall. But now you have Commanders sitting at 4-7. You beat the Giants twice. You're 6-5.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean,
right. You're right on track with your pick then.
Well, so in the way they're finishing, yes. And if the Commanders didn't crap the bed against the Giants, they might be pushing for the playoffs. It's hard
when you only have 3 wins like the Giants do to have beaten the same team twice.
Right.
Like, I wonder how often that has happened. I'm sure it's happened, but I'm sure it hasn't happened often.
I wonder if there's a team that went 2-14, but both their wins were against a divisional opponent.
I hope so.
So the order of finish I have correct. It's just I had too much faith in the Commanders looking a little bit better this year and making the playoffs. So that one might be an oopsie. NFC East for you had the same order: Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants.
So technically we're still right, but
yes, but you had just 2, not 3.
Yeah, Eagles and Cowboys.
Right. My uncle flip-flopped Giants, Redskins. Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Redskins for him. He had Eagles, Cowboys making the playoffs. My dad flip-flopped Cowboys, Eagles. That's technically still pending.
Oh, absolutely.
And he also had Giants over the Commanders. Sorry. My uncle has it written here, Commando for me, but then the next 3 he has Redskins listed here. So that's still going to take me another year or 2 to remember that. My dad still calls them the San Diego Chargers. So
well, and by then, Josh Harris will have changed the name again. So don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. So AFC East now. Here's one that my dad said. What did he say? He texted me after I brought it up once already about his Patriots prediction and my uncle having a coronary live as he was talking to us. He said, your dad's looking like a genius with that New England pick. I want to say we weren't that far off. He might have said 5-12. I think you and I, did we say 6-11 or 7-10, something like that?
I
don't think we had him 500.
I don't think I had him 500, but like it wouldn't surprise me if I had him a little better.
So we all picked the Bills to win the division. And I can thankfully say that that's not looking like a guarantee this year.
Oh, certainly not a guarantee.
Makes me very happy. I mean, they're only 1 game back. What is it? Is it 1 game? So they haven't had their bye yet. So I guess there's a half game in there. The Dolphins have a 1.5 game lead, I guess, right now. 2 game lead in the loss column, we'll say. But the Bills have the tiebreaker at the moment because they are one of 3 Miami losses. So I had the Dolphins in second, making the wild card. Jets in third, Patriots last. all of that is still on the table.
Right.
Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. Bills winning, Dolphins in the wild card. Justin, you had the same order of finish, but you had the Dolphins. I feel like my uncle must have flip-flopped these numbers, but you had both Dolphins and Jets making the wild card.
Okay.
You had Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. My uncle had Bills, Jets, Patriots, Dolphins. That's not looking good for him. Not looking good. My dad had Bills, Jets, Dolphins.
Wait, he had
Patriots.
Dolphins in last?
He had the Dolphins in last, yeah. All on the same show. He freaked out when my dad said New England only wins 5, and he was telling me with a straight face that the Dolphins are finishing.
So you're telling me this is like the worst.
This is the worst case scenario for him. Yeah, this is the worst case scenario. I can't wait to see him Friday night. I just hope at that time while we're having dinner that the Dolphins have beat the Jets and are that much closer to ensuring at least a playoff berth.
Right.
What are the Jets? Are the Jets going to bench Zach Wilson? I see not going to be the quarterback on Friday.
They have to. They have
How
to.
do you go with?
And here's the thing, and this is with that defense. I know they threw all their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket. However, they needed a backup. And think about it. What could they have gotten Josh Dobbs for?
Yeah.
They're a playoff team with Josh Dobbs. I said they're a playoff team with Carson Wentz. Now I know Carson Wentz doesn't bring them what they need. They need a quarterback that has some mobility because of their line issues and stuff. But there's enough weapons there. You know what I mean? Like Zach Wilson's bad.
Yeah, he has not gotten better. It's pretty sad. So currently in the AFC East, Miami leads 7-3 in first place. Bills next 6-5. Jets thereafter 4-6. Patriots in last at 2-8. Both the Jets and Patriots have lost 3 in a row, so they're fighting for that third and fourth spot. If it finishes that way, we would be off at 1-2. We all picked the Bills to win the division. I'd be okay with being wrong.
Yeah, but I blame that on the Bills, not on us.
So it's interesting to me that our NFC picks. I'm talking Super Bowl now. And honestly, talking NFC Championship game. Cowboys over 49ers for me. Eagles over 49ers for you. Eagles over Cowboys for my uncle. And Cowboys over Eagles for my dad. All of that very feasible.
Oh, 2 of the top 3 teams in the NFC.
AFC, we're not looking great.
Oh.
We're not looking great. So I had the Bengals beating the Chiefs.
Okay.
I think it's safe to say that's not happening. You had the Chiefs beating the Bengals, so at least you have one team that looks like they could be playing in an AFC Championship game for the 5th straight year? I think.
Something crazy. I think it's 6th. I think it would be 6th.
Crazy. My uncle had Bills beating Chiefs, and then my dad had Bengals beating Chiefs. Bengals and Bills just don't look like AFC Championship contenders right now.
Yeah.
Chiefs do. And all of us have the Chiefs in there. Only one had them winning you. So that's what happens when a star quarterback is injured to start the year and then gets injured and lost for the year halfway through.
Yeah.
So it's a terrible thing for Cincinnati. But overall, Justin, I feel like we did pretty good.
Yeah.
And this is still, with the
Right,
future to be determined.
But we're not sitting here in September either.
And
we have almost 3 months down.
The only one that looks bad is the Bengals, but
that
Joe Burrow got hurt.
Right.
Like if you told me at the beginning of the year,
he was
Burrow
he was compromised at the beginning of the season, and he's out the second half of the season. We obviously change our picks.
Right.
Same thing, and we have the Jets in third, right?
You and I had the Jets in third.
Right.
My uncle and dad had him in second.
Right. Well, you know what? I may have pulled the trigger if you told me he was out and Zach Wilson was going to play so many games. I probably would have had them finishing behind the Patriots. But
you're probably right. I probably would have as well.
But I got to give them credit. Their defense is very, very good. I feel like there is a little bit of there's plenty of blame on Zach Wilson, but like the rest of their offense hasn't done anything.
No, Garrett Wilson hasn't been great. Breece Hall has been. I mean, he's
Right,
had flashes.
They haven't been able to run the ball like I thought they would be able to. Now maybe they can't run the ball because like they know
they don't have to
Zach Wilson is not going to beat us, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. No, you're right. You're right. So. So that's it for our NFL recap leading up to Week 11. have been having a lot of close games. A lot of games decided by a field goal or less, a touchdown or less, ending up being finalized in the last 1 or 2 minutes. So NFL continues to be king in the United States. It outpaces everything. It is the king of television, and we see that in terms of payouts.
That Eagles-Dallas game at like over 27 million viewers. That's insane.
So, my friend Chris says Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. We very well could see a rematch. Oh, we're also getting that game tomorrow night. Yeah, gosh. So, are you excited for that one?
No.
No.
First of all, it's prime time, which means I'm going to be up late.
You're going to be up real late, yeah.
Second of all, like, I can't imagine how many times I'm going to hear him talk about, like, revenge for the Super Bowl. No, it's not revenge. Unless it's the Super Bowl, it's not revenge for the Super Bowl. Like...
Right, get back to me in February.
Right.
See how things are going.
Also, like, this will shock you, right? I picked against the Eagles tomorrow night. But, like, I don't think that means the Eagles aren't good. I just think it's tough to beat the Chiefs. It's even tougher to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Coming off a bye.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything's going Kansas City's way, which is why the Eagles will now win. Because everyone's
speak it into existence, my friend.
I know you wouldn't care about that, but so.
But like I've told you, over these next 4 weeks, if you told me the Eagles were going to lose to the Chiefs and Bills but beat the Niners and Cowboys, I'd sign up for that in an instant. Mm-hmm. In an instant,
right? So I'd say with those two teams, the defending Super Bowl participants, the champion and the runner-up. I'd say the Eagles are a step back from where they were last year. And I want to say the same about the Chiefs, but it's only because their offense has taken a step back while their defense has gone through the roof. They're now, I think, top 5 in most everything.
Yeah.
They may even be like top 2 or 3.
So I feel like the Eagles need to be able to run the ball against them.
So Chiefs maybe are a push. They're not as flashy, and it's not been scoring points. And the high-octane offense is what generally gets the viewership numbers and people talking about you. So because Kansas City isn't doing it with offense as they had over the last few years, I think people undersell them a little bit. They did just have that loss to the Broncos, but we talked about Denver's trending up.
Right.
And those losses happen. It's not like Kansas City was going undefeated or, 16-0, 16-1, whatever over the last few years. There were always a few hiccups. But when it mattered most, they were able to always come through. So Chiefs-Eagles tomorrow night should be a great game. We're past the halfway point. They got Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday. It's fantastic. My Dolphins are actually trending the right direction. And I'm hoping that we can see an end to, I think it's 23 years since the Dolphins last won a playoff game. I think it was December 30th, 2000.
You know what's going to happen?
What? What's going to happen?
They're going to make the playoffs and have to play the Steelers in the first round.
Oh boy, that's a problem for future Joey.
That's right.
That's a problem
That's
for
right.
future Joey.
That's right.
The bigger problem, honestly, will be Natalie, because I don't know that Natalie will have a way to choose who she's going to root for, or honestly, I think she's going to choose my way, and that's not a way for me to live happily. Because you know exactly how that feels whenever it's Steelers Eagles. So yeah, Dolphins Steelers in the first round would be something. The Dolphins lost the Steelers in the first round like 6-7 years ago, so it wouldn't be anything new for me. But I didn't have Natalie sitting there cheering and watching every second of every game with me. I guess the only thing I want to say here is, are we over baseball and the way that ended since we weren't on this show? We got Aaron Nola's back.
Say over as in like
moved on.
I've moved on.
It will always be painful.
Right.
It'll be talked about just like 1993.
I do have to say, and it's a little consolation, but it is a little bit for me. For me, I'm glad the Rangers won. I wasn't rooting for the Rangers. I did not watch
a single pitch
of the World Series.
Any of it.
But if Arizona had won, that would be one.
Bad, yeah.
You know what? To me, that would have been like the Eagles losing to the Bucs in the NFC Championship game. That's the one the Eagles should have won. Not Not the one where they made the Super Bowl. The Patriots were there and were cheating, so you can't like. So much was stacked up. So much was stacked up
I'm
against
not sure
them.
my uncle's listening live, but when he gets to watch this,
And it's at the end of the episode too.
Oh, man.
It's at the end. Oh man! So, like you can only overcome so many obstacles,
right?
But that one when the Bucs went on and just smoked the Raiders, like that's the one that I felt like the Eagles were the best team, and they just didn't get it done.
Was that the last game at the Vet?
That was the last game at the Vet. Rondé Barber picked off McNabb and took it back, and that was the end of that game. Not the literal end, but figuratively the end. Yeah.
Well, just a wonderful trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
But I think we're right around like 100 days until pitchers and catchers report. So
hey,
Aaron Nola is back with the Phillies, and
I'm excited about that.
Every day I check Twitter and just see like Phillies content. I just see a bunch of people talking.
Did you read the Player Tribune thing?
Well, that was from 5 years ago. So
okay.
It was a republished.
Okay.
I didn't read the whole thing. I just read the first like part of it. But yeah, it's good. I mean, it's what you want your athletes to be. If they're skeptical or uneasy about coming to Philadelphia, you want them to eventually embrace the city, and that's what we're seeing a bunch of people do, including now Aaron Nola, who's committed 7 more years, and this is after Bryce Harper and Trey Turner signed huge long-term deals.
Yep.
People seem to want to be here, and the way that the city has responded to the Phillies over the last 2 years, I think makes people want to be there, which is why I'm constantly seeing talks about free agents and trades involving Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and I don't think they're going to be in Yamamoto. Tomorrow, I guess that starts, but the Phillies should be talked about for basically everyone.
Can you imagine?
Because that's where we're at.
If they were able to get one of those guys from the Angels, like,
why not both?
Just do it.
No, don't worry about the roster complications of the money. The money means nothing. John Middleton doesn't care.
Right. You know how much money that team could make?
Talk about pressure, though. If they had trouble with the pressure in games 6 and 7 of the NLCS this year, you imagine you add.
But imagine they get Trout and then he's healthy and has like an MVP caliber year. Oh my gosh, let's make it happen.
Let's do it. Why not?
Let's have guys finish 1, 2, 3 in the MVP voting
and top 2
and Cy Young.
Oh, we're so ridiculous. I hope everyone understands that we're joking mostly.
Right.
But all right, well, Justin, it was good to be back on this show. I know it's kind of a whirlwind talking about every NFL team, but we'll be back again next week to recap Thanksgiving and talk about NFL Week 12 by and large. Last I checked, Minnesota's up on Denver 10-6 as we are approaching, I assume, halftime here real soon.
Usually, yep.
All right. Well, I think that's it for episode 385 of the Joe Mays J-Raff Show. We'll be back next Sunday night to talk more pro football and anything else that comes about. Maybe we didn't get to talk about Penn State at all this week, so we'll save that heartbreak for next week. Since we talked Phillies tonight, we'll push Penn State to next week. Sound good?
I'm fine with that.
Two teams playing on Black Friday, and they're not Wilson.
Right.
It's the Dolphins at 3 and Penn State at what, 7:30?
Yeah,
something like that. So I go right from Dolphins Jets to Penn State Michigan State on Black Friday. So what a sports day that'll be.
After football on Thursday, man, like this is shaping up to be pretty good for you.
As long as they win. If they lose, it's awful, and I don't ever want it to happen again. All right, we'll be back in a week. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop. Woo-hoo! You can watch each weekly episode live on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also rate and review us on many of these platforms as well. We'd love to hear from you. Send your emails to the Mays Sandwich Shop inbox at joemaysandjraff@gmail.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is a part of the JMNJR Radio Network, home to other productions such as the Bulldog Hour, Tangents with Friends, and Nat Chats with Dad. Until next time.